My name is Barbara Santon, and I am a dating and relationship coach. And today I want to share a little bit of my personal story and the background into why I became a relationship coach. So here we go. Professionally, I started off as a midwife. I delivered hundreds of babies over the years, over a decade, and I saw a lot of couples transition into parenthood together and struggle, and I saw a lot of couples thrive and do okay and like have each other's back. And I got intrigued by that because guess what? I by that time had a history of some painful experiences, including by that time one divorce, but by now real time 2 divorces. During my midwifery years, I was realizing that I had some relationship troubles, and I'd had some counseling through the years that never helped. Communicating more and using I statements, that never worked for me in any of my relationships. And so I was frustrated and I was curious for myself, but also for these clients who were, some of them really struggling in their relationships after having a baby. And so all of it jumbled together, and I ended up taking a course in applied positive psychology and becoming certified as a positive psychology practitioner. This opened up a whole new world into a different way of thinking, a different way of not really analyzing yourself, but a different way of living and moving into what you want, rather than looking back and analyzing and dissecting why you are the way you are, which was so frustrating to me all these years, but I didn't really understand why. And so positive psychology really opened up my world into coaching and the philosophy of coaching. And so I took a bunch of relationship coaching courses for my own personal relationship at the time, but I also started actually a relationship coaching training. I took several of those. And so that is, how I got into relationship coaching as a profession. But personally, by then I'd had 2 failed marriages, and I was now in a 3rd major relationship, living with a man, on common law, on the road to being together for a long time, if not forever, and suffering. I was in so much pain, and I was so frustrated because up until then, I was always being told it was my fault or my responsibility, and I didn't understand how. I could be the cause of this. And I wasn't necessarily in denial by this point, but what I was actually doing was taking too much responsibility in the way that I was thinking I was broken and I was thinking it was my fault, rather than being balanced like I am now and realizing I have a contribution to the situation I'm in, but it's not all my fault. And so I swung the other way and took everything on and thought everything he was doing that was uncomfortable for me or that made me not feel good was my problem for not feeling good. And there is something to be said about that. I'm not going to go into that. Of course, I own my own feelings, but there's a balance there. And I think women need to be really careful about taking on too much, but also taking responsibility for ourselves. And so that's what I did in this 3rd relationship. A lot of my needs weren't being met, and I thought, oh, well, sort of pop psychology tells us if your needs aren't being met, then you need to take responsibility for meeting your needs, which is true. But what happened was I started thinking that I shouldn't have these needs because my partner at the time couldn't meet them. And so I started shoving my needs down instead of meeting my own needs and figuring out a way that I could have the needs met, but also a loving partner. And it was because I was stuck on having it be him. And so instead of deciding in that moment whether I should stay with him or leave him, which was keeping me totally in a lockdown, it was such a difficult thought to have. to have to decide this when I was so not ready to decide this. So instead of doing that, I decided I'm going to live in the vibration of the kind of relationship that I desire right now, in this moment, in this relationship. And so I started coming up to this level of vibe, you know, a couple of minutes or an hour a day, and then I would go back to where we were living together. And then I would end up back up at that level of vibration, feeling good and doing what I needed to do for me. And then I would come back to where I'm used to. And slowly but surely, I started living up at that vibration a lot more and a lot longer, with shorter periods in between. And my hope was that he would come up and meet me there, because I loved him so much and I really wanted this for both of us. I thought that, you know, accelerating and growing was going to be amazing for both of us. And regardless, I was holding this vision of a relationship, in brackets, hoping it was with him, but not attached to it being with him. I was holding this beautiful vision of a relationship that had everything in it that met my needs and that felt fulfilling for me and for that partner in my vision. And that partner didn't have a face. I hoped it would be him, but I wasn't attached to that. And that is what actually made the biggest difference in my life, is to grow into that vibration myself and to have the guts and the courage and bravery to live up there, not knowing how this relationship would end up, or if I would end up alone, or what would happen. This unknown, right? Stepping into that unknown, but living at that high vibration all the while. And that was my biggest, hugest, most scariest learning in relationships, and is what got me so clear on what I need and want, and so healed and so connected to myself. So ultimately that relationship ended. I had to leave because he wasn't meeting me at my vibration, and I left in a loving way. I wasn't saying, "You're not meeting me at my vibration." I was in a vibe of, I am in such an amazing vibration, and I would really like for you to be up here with me. But if you can't be, that's okay. You need to be where you need to be, and I'm going to be where I'm going to be. So after a little while, I said goodbye. I can't live up here with you down here. You're welcome to join me, but I'm up here and I'm not coming back down. And so one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, I think probably the hardest thing to date, is to leave this relationship. It was heartbreaking. And I felt guilt, because who am I to feel heartbroken if I'm the one leaving? You know, I'm not allowed to feel heartbroken. I'm the leaver. He's the leavee, if that's even a word. He's heartbroken. So I'm not allowed to be, because I'm making that choice. And so I had this whole, sort of crisis in confidence around that. And also in my business, because by then I was a relationship coach. And who am I to leave a relationship as a relationship expert and now claim to still know all these things that I know? And so during that time, I was focusing a lot on myself and healing myself, and really struggling in my as a relationship coach. And I realized that there's a huge gap in help for women who are newly dating. And I started dating myself, and I realized, oh my gosh, I have this expertise and this experience. I want to help others as well in this dating life after these long-term relationships. So here I am. I actually have since found and met an amazing man who I've created a beautiful relationship with, not dependent at all. We both entered the relationship whole in that high vibration. We were both vibing high, separately in our own way, not attached to finding and gripping and searching and claiming a relationship, but vibing in that place and allowing a relationship to come, or allowing their one not to come and to be fine waiting. Because being okay being on your own and still longing for a relationship or wanting one but not being attached to one, that is the golden place. And so we met each other in that place, and we are flourishing and have a very calm and connected, deeply connected relationship based on choice, not based on need. My last relationship was very needy and very grippy and very anxious and very addicted to the intensity of it, the intensity of the fighting and the intensity of the passion. Whereas now I feel very steady in who I am. And my partner is there along my side. And if he weren't, I would still be this steady, because before I met him, I was already this steady. So this is my story. And here I am today sharing with you. I hope this touched you somehow. And I would like to invite you into my Facebook group. It's an exclusive group for single women called Unfuck Your Dating Life. And in there, I share a lot more tips, ongoing discussions, and I do Facebook Lives all about my relationship philosophy and also the way that I coach. So meet me in there. I'll put the link wherever I post this video so that you can access it easily. And I will see you in there and on another video. Goodbye for now.